All right, we're going to stay on politics, and we are having fun this morning. My texts are just going off with new Labour Party slogans that they could use. But things are happening in politics. We are heading into the real campaign, and there is movement. There is movement in the polls. There is movement in the media. People are coming up with, well, at this stage, particularly useless campaign slogans. And one of the parties that is there or thereabouts, and I've got to say, I would have thought if I was Winston Peters, I would have been somewhat bolstered by how close he is to the 5% threshold in recent public opinion polls. But as that happens, the question always comes in, though he has answered it, would he go with National or Labour? He said, I'm not going with Labour, which answers the question to a certain way. But also it would appear to me that Winston Peters is entering into a new political space that is already quite crowded. And he's not a minor party, but with minor parties. Winston Peters joins us now. Winston, good morning. Nice to see you on Video Link.
Good morning.
Yeah. Now, you've seen a few campaign slogans. I just want to start with this. How rubbish is in it for you?
Look, it's like Roman numerals, I-F-Y, right?
Iffy.
It's almost like double F-U. I could not believe when I saw that slogan. Frankly, I thought, who on earth? This is to show how the wheels have utterly come off.
Yeah, well, that's actually, funnily enough, that's exactly what I thought. I thought you could at least try to come up with something catchy and snappy that reaches the mood of the country. And I've got to say, look, I look at National's back on track. It's not great, but it's not bad. It gets there. It captures the zeitgeist that we have by political polling, Winston, more people who disagree with the country and the direction it's going in. Therefore, to say to those people, we can put it back going the way you want, isn't a bad political slogan for a moderate conservative party like National, is it?
Well, I'm not going to comment on their slogans other than to say that the slogans that they are running are not going to capture people's imagination. I mean, you know what was going on with Kiwi Rail in 2017. It was being run into the ground. So if you're going to get it back on track, I hope it's not that track.
All right, what's your campaign slogan, Winston?
If you wait around, you'll see it very, very soon. But
that's a very long campaign, so if you wait around very honestly, we're going to tell you soon. Do you have one?
Hang on. Our convention is next Sunday.
Yeah.
And at Mount Smart on the Sunday, you'll probably hear it. But here's the point. We had a meeting in Tauranga yesterday, got over 700 along.
Yeah.
This was unbelievable. We had to be out the door, couldn't get enough seats, and had people watching on television outside. So this is all happening, and I don't care what the polls say. They're rubbish, and I'm going to prove it.
Well, I'd say they are actually showing that you are edging up, that you are now, you're emerging, and there's a late run going. I wouldn't have been disappointed by the polls that we've seen of late.
Mr. Plunket, we've packed the halls everywhere in this country, and now we're getting meetings of 700 and 735 yesterday. Here's the point. There is no media coverage at all. This is a deliberate boycott. It stinks. It's rotten.
Are you saying you're being shut out by mainstream media?
I'm not saying it. You know I am.
Yeah.
Look, they go to the opening of an envelope for the Greens, the Maori Party, and every other party, but when it comes to New Zealand First, it's a deliberate boycott because we said that they were bought off by the Labour Party with the $54 million public interest journalism fund, and it stinks. However, they're not going to win, and it's just motivated New Zealand First supporters and our membership and our workers more than ever before, and that's why we're back in the halls bigger than any other political party.
Well, I must admit, it seems from the media, from the social media coverage I've seen, that indeed that is true. You did get some media coverage this weekend, though, from Stuff, which wrote a piece that suggested, essentially, Winston, that you've decided you're going to have a crack at what I would call the anti-vaxxer vote.
Well, hang on, I'm not anti-vax in the context that you're talking about. I'm vaxxed. And I said at the very beginning, when my grandparents were dying in their thousands, when the Maori were dying in the Spanish flu, almost 9 to 1 worse than Europeans because of their lack of immunity, and a man called Paul Maori came along and brought modern medicine, I've always believed we had to get to the right treatment. But I'm not for people being mandated out of their lives because they disagree. It's called freedom. It's called the right to understand what's going on.
Okay, all right. But you realise there is a very small but kind of highly motivated, let's put it nicely, a highly motivated group of people on that issue who are quite vociferous and believe, and I want to just clear this up because I think that piece and stuff did have a crack at you and really didn't give you a chance necessarily to reply.
It's worse than that.
Yeah.
It's worse than that. This is 5 pages of an attack by a bum outfit called Stuff, who came to me and said, we want to cover the election campaign, and then up in 5 pages, you know how they lied.
So they set you up, did they?
No, they tried to set me up, but I wrote back in text and said, excuse me, if you're covering, as you say, the election campaign, and you've never turned up to one of my PAC meetings, what on earth are you focusing on this for? This is not my election campaign.
All right.
And
well,
they couldn't even lie to me properly.
Well, I want to give you a chance to clear some of that stuff up. Do you or do you not believe, that the government and health officials are conspiring in New Zealand to hide or misrepresent the level of vaccine-related or shot-related injuries?
Look, Sir Ian Taylor put it brilliantly just the other day. He said, we got the first lockdown right because we didn't know what we were doing. The second lockdown was a disaster, and he's right.
Yeah, wasn't asking about lockdown. Specific question, Winston. Do you believe that the New Zealand health officials and government are covering up?
Don't come the Philadelphia lawyer with me. I've been around too long. Here's my point. They are covering up some facts because this is the reason. They don't know them all. It's when they said they were the podium of truth. They knew all these facts. They did not know them. Look, I've got the latest analysis of June 2023 from a worldwide experts, and they are independent and extremely independent, and they're doing the parallel comparison between countries. How come they said, for example, Papua New Guinea has got a far lower rate of these sorts of coronavirus?
I'm going to come back to the question because you're off now in Papua New Guinea and I didn't want to go there.
No.
Do you believe there is a conspiracy by the government and health officials to minimise or cover up the level of vaccine side effects or injuries in this country?
Of course I don't believe that. Guess why?
Of course I don't.
No, stop. You stop. I was there, you weren't.
Yeah.
The health officials were trying to put information in front of the government and the government wasn't printing it. Now, you know that, don't you? I do. They were trying to put information for the government to consider in front of Cabinet, and the Cabinet was not considering it. That's all there.
Or in some cases, it is clear, and we know this, that Mr. Bloomfield would make recommendations for the removal of lockdowns or restrictions, and the government absolutely refused to or ignored his official advice. And that is on the record, so that's not a cover-up or a conspiracy.
But
do you believe, Winston, that Pfizer globally has lied or been involved in a conspiracy to cover up the true nature or risks of its vaccine?
What I will say to you is this. These international pharmaceutical companies have done miraculous jobs in the past, but I think we had a difficulty with the time frame to get the vaccine ready, and that means that they could not with absolute certainty know at the time, given the brevity of the times to check what they were doing, the full facts.
So is that good intentions but poor delivery, or is there a conspiracy now for them to cover up what was really going on?
I am not. Look, I'm not a conspiracy theorist.
Okay. Yeah.
I want you to know this. I'm not going to stand by while people think they know the truth and that they're the podium of truth. Like I saw, for example, you heard what Jacinda Ardern said about Americold. Americold's a freezing company in Melbourne. She said, we got the coronavirus from there. And so did Bloomfield. But I was on Aussie TV saying, within an hour, this is not true. I didn't know that what they had said. And I put it down to the fact that if there were only 2 of 1,200 workers who got it, they didn't get it from the factory. They got it downtown in Melbourne. Yeah. And then the head of Americold said, look, we haven't supplied you with any product for 4.5 months. Only then they considered, but none of the journalists said, Winston got it right.
Yeah.
Now, is that being a conspiracy theorist? No. It's using your brains to work out and ask good questions.
Well, I'm going to put it to you. Let's just wrap the whole thing up then, Winston. There is, and I don't know what percentage it is, there are a very active group of people who I call, and they hate me calling it, well, if they self-identify, the anti-vaccine nutters. It would appear to me from the social media posts and the flow of social media and discussion I'm seeing that you currently are appealing quite heavily to those people.
What do you mean? What do you mean it appears to you? You know, I've given my speeches at public halls.
Is that a deliberate move to take all those votes off Liz Gunn and Leighton Baker and Matt King?
I was utterly against a second lockdown because it was going to cost billions and it wasn't justified. Am I a conspiracy theorist? No, not. Do I have common sense? Yes, I hope I do. And now you've got Ian Taylor and other people saying that was never what we should have done. It cost us a fortune.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to be typecast by people who can't handle the truth. The reality is your job in this business of politics, and dare I say it, the journalism, is to keep on asking good questions until you get the truth.
Yeah.
And we didn't have the truth.
All right. Look, I think that's a good answer to that question, Winston. So your campaign slogan is out next weekend. I'm going to make a prediction. It couldn't be any more rubbish than Labor's one. So you're ahead on points already.
Well, this politics is a difficult slog, I can tell you this, but it's also an inspiring one. And there are great slogans, and then there are terrible slogans.
Okay. Well, I'm thinking of a billboard with your face on it that says "Last time, honest."
Well, really, stand back and watch. Stand back and watch. I've been written off more times than you've had hot dinners.
Yes, that is true, Winston. That is very, very true. I thank you for your time this morning. That is the leader of New Zealand First, Winston Peters. That was an interesting chat. He's not banned here. He's back in the swim. And interesting, just to quiz him on whether or not he's going for that. And gosh, it's interesting what's happening. Is he going for the anti-vax vote? He didn't say he wasn't, but he's very careful not to say he's not a conspiracy theorist. Can you be an anti-vax nutter and not a conspiracy theorist? Not that I'm calling Mr. Peters a nutter. Gosh, but as I say, so they've got their campaign slogan coming out next weekend. As I said, just a picture of Winston. Oh, give me one more shot. I don't want to retire, as some other ones you could have. We've got to come up with a bit. We've got to save Labor from the ignominy of iffy, in it for you. Iffy is their campaign slogan. Like, how do they do that? Was it like they know they're going to lose and, why bother? Why, let's just throw some words into a bag and we'll pick them out in a random, thing. Sean, good interview. Always voted for Winston in the past. Stuck between him and David Seymour this year. If Winston is going down the anti-vax nutter rabbit hole, then that's disappointing. I may not give him my vote. He doesn't need those idiots to vote for him. They can vote for Liz Gunn. Well, they can't vote for Liz Gunn because Liz Gunn hasn't actually, despite the fact she says she's got thousands of people signed up and taken their money, she hasn't actually registered her political party yet. So is that a con? I'm wondering if that is a terrible, terrible con. Uncle Winnie has my vote. Is he your uncle? It's nepotism.